Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock.
Oh, we're here.
We're here.
It was weird because it was like, God, there hasn't been enough time since the last show. I can't believe we... And then I remember it's because we recorded on Saturday.
And goddamn, like, what a bad idea that was, because now it's just like... We were so, like, alive for that episode. And I'm just like, so fucking dead today. It's like we
middle
just
of the day on a weekend. Although in fairness, Saturday is not your weekend.
Yeah, I just lucked out and got off work early. Today is actually my weekend, and I'm more tired.
Makes sense.
Like today's my Sunday, and Sundays we probably talked about it before, but Sundays are just the worst because you just spend it all dreading. Like having to go back to work the next day.
Yeah, there's something mentally about Saturdays where it's like, I'll never have to work again. Life is great. And then your Sundays are, the whole day is just like, well, I could do this, but what's the point? I got to go to work tomorrow.
Well, I fucked up because, like, I usually, like, Sundays are when I do, like, you know, little chores and shit I need to do before the start of my work week. So, you know, I do all my laundry and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it the day before my Sunday, and then it won't be as bad on Sunday because I won't have as much stuff I have to get done before work the next day. And it's like, no, now I'm still tired and stuff, and I just ruined my Saturday.
I follow the logic though. That's something that like seems to make sense,
right?
Like it kind of works for me where my thing this time of year is having to do yard work. So sometimes I'll get home and on like Friday after work and be like, you know, fuck it. If I just go straight into yard work and do it tonight, then I don't have to worry about it all weekend. And it sucks, but it works.
Yeah.
But that's only like devoting a couple hours to one thing. It's not like taking my whole...
You know how mad I am that you just reminded me that I haven't mowed the lawn yet? God damn it.
Yeah, ours is approaching levels of white trashiness that I wish it wasn't. But
we got like new neighbors who moved in a couple months ago, and they're nice, but they're, you know, naturally excited to have a house, so they're mowing all the time and shit. And I'm just like, yeah, that'll change, you know. Like once you've been somewhere long enough, it's like, fuck it, the weeds are a part of this place.
Yeah, we had new neighbors move in. I think it was last year. God, time just bleeds together. But they were like that too. Like, because the neighbors before were more like me, where their yard, you know, our yards never get that bad, but they're not.
But shit, you know, shit slips. You know, things come up. Yeah. You don't think about it.
And I don't edge every time I mow, and I don't.
Yeah. Fuck all that.
I have like manicured gardens and stuff. And so the new neighbors moved in, and yeah, it was exactly that. It's like, we're going to get this yard looking great and we'll be mowing all the time. And I'm like, you better not, because I'll fucking kill you.
Well, you can do whatever you want, but like, you know, one, don't mow when I'm sleeping. And two, don't expect
get resentful
me
if I'm, yeah.
Like, yeah.
But they always do because, and I get it, if you're busting your ass to make your yard look nice, the problem is, if the one next door looks like crap, that's always going to kind of make you feel like yours does too.
Yeah, fuck you.
But I'm not going to do mine just because you did yours.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Buy a goddamn country home away from people then. You don't want neighbors? Tough shit. Yeah, totally. Like it. I almost never, you're lucky to get me to mow. I never do like the exhausting like edging and shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I always get that thing where, you know, I tell people that I hate mowing. I don't hate mowing. My yard takes like 15 minutes to mow, maybe 20, but the mowing itself is easy. It's a pain in the ass because you got to get the mower out and this and that.
Yeah.
But
and if your mower is anything like mine, it doesn't quite work right. So we have to like do this fucking weird, I don't know what made me come up with it, but to get like the engine going, I have to pull this thing on the engine, and like there's a zip tie tied to it, and I have to like that I put on there that I have to like latch onto my mower, and it's this really like fucking hick ass operation, but it's kept my mower working for a year.
Yeah. And mowers always. I have a brand new mower because my last one died this year. Died. Just like I think the engine block cracked or something.
Yeah.
When you buy a $90 mower, any kind of problem with the motor is more expensive than just replacing a $90 motor. So I got a new one, so I don't have that stuff. But I mean, it's still like I have a tiny little one of those like 3x4 foot kit sheds that it doesn't quite fit in, so I have to like disassemble the handle every time and then put it back on. And it's just a pain.
And you know, one of the upsides about my mom getting this new house, like the yard for that is a very basic backyard. And where we live right now, which is a nice house, and the yard can be nice if you take care of it, which, as I've stated, is not me. But it's like, it's this weird kind of like just a bunch of like little mounds, and it's kind of sloped and shit. So like mowing that is just a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know, because it is that the size wise, it should be a 15-minute job. But for all the weird ass terrain, you have to like push the fucker around. Like it turns into like an hour to do the front and the back.
Right, and then that just adds like frustration, and then the fact that what pisses me, I hate these guys that are like, I love yard work, manly. It's like, it's extra work. It's not like I get to take off my real work to do this work, so it's just added shit.
You know, and it's that's
you have
not
to
satisfying.
and it can be like I get if I do my yard, like there's like once or twice a summer where usually just once at the beginning where I'll go through and do all of that and trim and like put mulch down, and when you're done you're like, yeah, this looks nice. And then the part that sucks is then it's like 3 days later you got to go to your car or something and you look at your yard and like, yeah, the fucker's not nice anymore, like it's already grown over. Like the amount of work that you do for the short amount of time that lasts, it's annoying. Like if I could, it would all be AstroTurf.
So yeah, like the only time I feel that sort of like, oh man, I actually did like a man thing, is like when you're like assembling something, you know, like you're like, I like putting, you know, shit together or building something. Yard work is just like, you know, it's just fucking property management bullshit, you know. And
like I said, if I could replace my like part of my desk job with yard work, then fine, because you're just work for work. But it's in addition to.
If I could cut out early to go mow my lawn, it wouldn't be as big of a deal.
That's just different kind of work, but yeah, it's. So anyway, that's the lawn care hour.
Yeah.
With.
Property is bullshit. That's the moral of that story. But you have another story for us today.
Ironically, it's about a property, kind of.
Lincoln's like, talk about the mower.
Mower, yeah. That's the last thing about mowing. I can't wait till she's old enough. Then mowing will be great because I'll be like, hey, Lincoln, go mow. Like, do you want to continue to have a roof above your head and some food? You better get out there and push that thing around.
And then, and that lasts for a few years, and then she gets smart enough to realize, like, oh, that's an empty threat. So
yeah, that's true.
And then Tara will be like, Steve, go fucking mow, because I'm tired of hearing you both argue.
Anyway, I do have a story that's kind of about a property. It's about a location. It's not about mowing it, so it should be a little more exciting than
it's about mowing the demons who haunt it.
Ooh. And I kind of mentioned it last week. It's a haunted place story, but this is really more about the story behind, like, today it's said to be haunted, and this is one of the actual mini stories about why this place is said to be haunted. So, and I think I'm saying this right. Loftus Hall. It's a sprawling historic mansion located on the Hook Peninsula in the present day county of Wexford, Ireland. It was originally built around 1350 under the name Redmond Hall. Basically a castle, but it's where they call it a castle. But if you look at, it's an estate. Yeah. It's a stone building. Doesn't have like the parapets and walls and stuff, but. The building has come to be known as the most haunted house in all of Ireland. When I read that, given Ireland's like just general like history and like dreariness. Ireland's not necessarily known as this like cheery, happy place. And I certainly don't mean that as an insult. Like I would love to visit Ireland, but it's when you say most haunted in Ireland, that's saying something.
Yeah. I like how there's so many like haunted mansion and castle stories and stuff, and it's like we built the biggest, like least structurally sound things, and then we're gonna be like, oh, it's creaking and shit. And we're gonna be like, oh, it's a ghost. It's like, could it be that this is just not how humans are supposed to live?
I always loved the term like most haunted too. Like how do you quantify that? It's like, because some places will say we have the most number of ghosts, and others will be like, well, we have the most ghostness. Like there's like not a quantitative number associated with, you're either haunted or you're not. Although I would like to open a tourist stand that just is like, we're the most sort of maybe haunted place in the world. The Loftus Hall is a host to many ghost tales. Today I'm specifically exploring the enduring legend of Anne Tottenham. Anne Tottenham was the daughter of Charles Tottenham and her mother Anne Loftus, whose family had acquired Redmond Hall in about 1660, and then renamed it to the Loftus Hall. The mother, Anne, had died at some point while the daughter was young. Some say she died giving birth to the daughter, Anne. But it's really not important to this story. Her father, Charles, remarried, this time being wed to his cousin, Jane Cliff.
Fucking weirdo.
Which is also... Yeah, I was going to say, it's also, that part's also not really important to the story.
How many stories, not even just through history, just on this show alone, have we talked about where we had to, like, casually drop some incest into it? Like, yeah. And then he married his sister, and, you know, and they did some shit for 40 years, and then...
In fairness, we tend to gravitate towards historical stories and, like, the not happy historical stories, like the awful people historical stories. So I guess it's like shouldn't be that shocking that comes up, especially since it didn't used to be, you know,
right,
uncommon. And then especially in the time of like the whole like clans and stuff where you literally keep it in the family, but it would be like, it doesn't say how close of a cousin, it just says cousin. But again, it's unrelated at all to this ghost story, but I had to mention it because he married his cousin.
Well, after a while, like, they're pretty close cousins. If you're going that far.
That's true. How weird would that be to be like, oh, my evil stepmom / aunt? Or whatever. Yeah, that would be. I guess it wouldn't be aunt, but it...
You're not my mom, you're my aunt. Fuck you.
Great aunt, not great aunt. I forget what that is. Your parents' cousin's relation to you, but whatever.
It makes you nothing. Absolutely nothing to me.
Nothing. Given Loftus Hall's location and proximity to the dangerously turbulent waters of the coast, it wasn't unusual for ships to become grounded or sink, and it was equally common for survivors of the accidents to seek shelter in places such as Loftus Hall. Apparently in the 1600s, you just like sailed around until you sank, and then you walked up to a house and were like, hey, can I stay here a little while? My boat sank. So one day when a sailor looking worse for the wear showed up at their front door and told them a story about how his ship had been smashed on the rocks and he needed a place for shelter, the Tottenhams didn't find it unusual because, like I said, I guess that was just a thing that happened. And that's mind-blowing to me because...
society has changed so much.
Right. Like, if somebody came up to my house and they were like, look, my plane just crashed and I crawled away from the wreckage and I just need a place to crash overnight until I can get a cab, I'd be like, fuck you.
Well, that's pretty shitty. Like, here's a tarp and...
Here, I'll help you call somebody. No, I'm not handing you my phone. I'll do it for you. I don't trust you. You're not staying in my house.
You can come in after my bodyguards pat you down and you have to be tied up. It's just
stay overnight.
It's
Fuck
just the
that.
rules.
So... To the sailor's delight, he was invited in and offered a place to stay. That invitation also delighted the young Anne, because the sailor was a particularly handsome and charming gentleman. Shockingly, the attractive young girl who was raised in a creepy castle in the middle of nowhere in Ireland, and a dashing young charismatic sailor hit it off pretty quickly. And though it was customary for male visitors to be lodged as far away from the single female household members' rooms as possible, Anne and the sailor did manage to spend a lot of their free time together. Literally, like, the one thing I was watching on this, you know how mansions are, there's always like, well, this is the West Wing, and this is the East Wing. We call this the Hampton Wing, you know, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
They literally lodged him in the farthest corner room from the family members' rooms where their daughter Anne slept, which makes sense. People were awful then as they were back then. Whatever.
They're awful now as they are.
Yeah, I
now.
tried to make that sound like a phrase, and I fucked it up. So weeks passed, and the sailor showed no indication that he planned on leaving anytime soon. It was common for these types of strangers to show up and receive lodging. It was uncommon for them to stay longer than like a week or two. Like,
and to
it was
court
just
your
one of those
daughter
things.
and corrupt her character.
Right. Fortunately for the sailor, Anne wasn't the only member of the household who had been won over by the guest's charm. The Tottenhams enjoyed his company, and they made no complaints about his extended stay. And if they had noticed the odd fact that, despite saying he was a shipwrecked sailor, no pieces were evidence of a shipwreck ever washed up on the beach, even if they noticed that odd discrepancy, they didn't seem to care. One night, while the Tottenhams entertained guests over dinner, one story said they were like playing cards and stuff, and the other was just like, you know, dinner.
Yeah.
Things people do, you know, entertaining guests in your large manner. The daughter Anne dropped a piece of silverware. She climbed under the table to retrieve said silverware, and certainly not do anything else, for anybody who's watched those late night Skinamax
right
type movies.
The thing nobody ever does, but for some reason
I dropped
it's like,
my fork.
I gotta go all the way into your pants to find this. I'm sorry.
And I like the idea that it's often portrayed as something that would work and nobody else would notice what was going on.
Like you said, they really liked this sailor, so they didn't care.
She was the third in line. That's the part the story left out. Another person dropped their fork. So anyway, she climbed under the table to retrieve the fork. And that's when she discovered that instead of feet, the sailor had a pair of cloven hooves. She screamed.
I know this story.
Yep. She screamed and jumped up out of and the guest jumped out of the chair, revealing that he was, of course, not a sailor, but instead Satan himself. Bwah ha 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 ha. I put with a question mark after it. I fooled you into giving me a bed and some food. Ha ha ha.
How much would that like take away from Satan if he had just like a nerdy kind of uncertain laugh? Actually, I'm the devil.
So he was revealed as the devil, and that's when he jumped up and, well, he revealed himself. He's like, "You got me. I am the devil. Ha ha ha."
You had no idea, did you, from my hooven feet?
Right. I made a note of that later on, that he stayed here for an extended amount of time. Apparently spent a lot of time with Anne and other members of the household, you know, to charm him, but nobody bothered to look at his feet. Like, did you hear something clomping around out in the hall last night? Oh, no. Yeah, that's weird. So after revealing himself to be Satan, he transformed into a fiery ball of, well, fire, and shot through the ceiling and off into the night, never to be seen again.
His master plan completed.
Right. I like that idea. It's like,
I got dinner for weeks from you assholes. Haha. And then he flies away.
The idea that Satan, the ultimate evil, like, I get that would be like a good lore, like, oh, he infiltrated this family. But then once he was revealed, he was just like, haha, you're right. I am Satan. Now I must leave. Like, wouldn't that be the point, that you like devour people's souls or enslave them, or at least like
Yeah.
Burned him alive. Like, instead of being like, better run away, you caught me. But again, that might go back to, he probably did have the nerdy laugh, and maybe Satan doesn't really have like immense power. He just has like those weird like
probably
trickster powers.
He just doesn't know what to do with himself. It's like, well, you're cursed. Bye.
Or this was just some really unfortunate. Imagine that, like being this. You actually are this like really handsome sailor that everybody likes, but your whole life you've been living with this awful secret that you have cloven hooves instead of feet, and like, you know, as a kid you got made fun of for it, but you finally like grew from the ugly duckling into this handsome sailor type, and then you get revealed. So you panic and flee, but you let them believe that you were Satan because you're like, well, at least that's like cool. Like, they won't follow me and call me Donkey Boy or whatever. Like, yes, I'm Satan and not a freak of nature.
That'd be really funny. Is like they just keep interrupting him and like, yes, I'm the dark. It's a Donkey Boy.
Donkey Boy. Donkey Boy.
Oh
Donkey
my God, he's a Donkey Boy. I was actually gonna sleep with him. The dad's like, me too.
So instead of doing any of that, he transformed into a ball of fire and shot like upwards and out and just like left. To this day, there remains a burned hole in the dining room ceiling that, despite numerous attempts at repair, cannot be covered up. Seriously, though, you can actually Google it. There is a picture of a burnt out hole. It's probably not from the 1600s, and I guarantee Bob Vila could fix it. You know, right. This whole mansion.
Anyone could fix it if you tried.
That's what I love. It's like it cannot be patched. It's like, have you tried? Or, well, what's the point? It can't.
It'll rot any wood away. I'm sure of it.
I'm sure. Look, we'd like to prove you right, but why waste money on the supplies? And then we'd have to go to Lowe's, and that's the whole thing. And just trust us. It cannot be patched. But you can Google pictures of this hole in the ceiling. It's a real hole, at least. If any part of the story is true, it's that there's a hole in the ceiling of this mansion. Mm-hmm. But not the roof, inexplicably. They never explain that. Like, why would he burn a hole through just the ceiling?
Nobody wants to admit that it was really just the work of a really poor taste fart joke where the father aimed his ass toward the air with a lighter and just took out a chunk of the ceiling.
I shouldn't have done that on Beans and Frank Thursdays.
Yeah,
anyway.
The wrong dinner and a match. I'll show you Satan.
So upon learning that the man that she had fallen for was not really a hapless and possibly handsome and charming stranger who by chance showed up at her door and also happened to be eligibly single and looking to mingle, as she had thought, because that's the other funny thing is
dapper go boy to call your own.
Yeah, you're always like, oh man, this guy is such a perfect guy and he's gorgeous and he's great and I'm in love, but for some reason he's single and wandering the countryside waterlogged.
That like, happens,
even if he's not, yeah, that's true.
You know,
but like, what are the chances that he's also like single and looking for love? Like the perfect guy, literally washed to my door.
Well, let's be real about guys. Like, you know, he probably wasn't looking for love. Like, he's like, wait, they might shelter me and they have a hot daughter?
Well, that's true. and there's a good chance he was just fleeing his fling with a mermaid. That's why he was shipwrecked. Like, yeah. He's like, that bitch Ariel's crazy. Aha, another one. Anne, you say? We're soulmates. But instead of that, when she realized it was Satan in the flesh, she was driven to madness. Not that mental illness doesn't come with a whole boatload of social stigma like today, but back in the 1600s, it was like even worse.
Yeah.
We've talked about that on the show before. So somebody in your family being mentally ill could be seen as an embarrassment to like the entire family tree all the way down to the roots, which I think is ironic considering how bat crap crazy all the people were.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, it was really just like, you know, were you unpleasant at our dinner parties, which dictated how crazy they thought you were. Right. So and it was like, well, if you were a pain in the ass, then we lock you away in a fucking attic.
It's like, yeah, he has sex with goats and drinks dog's blood, but he's charming. He told a really funny joke last night at dinner, so he's normal. for 1600s. It's like, you have anxiety disorder? Fuck it. Satan's got you possessed. Lock her away. So in an attempt to keep their daughter's satanic crush and subsequent insanity from doing anything awful, like, ruining their reputation.
Satanic crush being a great music genre, if you're not into that scene.
Or just a really, cool new flavor of soda pop. Like, man, you've had Orange Crush, but have you tried Satanic Crush?
This crush will make you break shit. We make it with cow's blood.
So Anne was locked away in her room, of course. It was a living situation that would not change, even after discovering a short time later that she was, of course, pregnant. Anne was forced to endure her pregnancy alone, locked in the bedroom. And approximately 9.5 months later, assuming the gestation period for a demon is equivalent to that of a human, Anne gave birth.
This is why, virginity is, such a dangerous thing, because it's you really didn't notice that the lower half of this dude was just all fucking goat shit?
I thought that was normal.
You're right. You gotta talk to your kids about sex, okay?
He was so good, it was like a
he had the stamina of an animal and the feet of an animal and the dick of an animal.
The smell of an animal.
Smell of an animal.
Sadly, Anne would die during childbirth, likely because she was forced to go through that while locked alone in her room as well.
Yeah.
So according
maybe
to
it
the story,
wasn't mental illness. Maybe she was pregnant and didn't know what the fuck was going on because nobody talked about that shit.
She keeps throwing up in the morning for no reason. It must be Satan. In the Tottenham's defense, childbirth is expensive, and the devil apparently didn't have health insurance that would extend to the mother of his love child. So, you certainly wouldn't want her going to get actual health care for this baby. Anyway, after the baby was born and Anne was dead, Anne's stepmother finally unlocked the doors and entered the room so she could scoop up her new step-grandchild. And then immediately kill it, because obviously it was literally the spawn of Satan, and nobody wants to have to go through those terrible tubes.
And look what the little shit's father did to our ceiling.
Right. So the baby's body was buried within the walls of the manor, which is another question I'll have in a minute. And Anne was probably buried somewhere as well, although given the story, it's possible that they just kind of left the room and locked the door behind them and were like, yep, it's the end of that chapter. Either way, the incident left the Tottenhams with two dead bodies, one of a lovelorn mother driven to lunacy who died before she could hold her own baby, and the other of a baby that was probably half demon. And it also left them with a charred hole in the dining room ceiling and an insurance claim that was probably impossible to settle. Can you imagine that?
Sir, this looks like your fart.
Look, we'll give you $50 for a piece of drywall, but it's a magical hole.
Insurance doesn't cover the devil either, so either way, you're on the hook for this.
Yeah. So all those things are fertile seeding for a good old-fashioned haunting. And to this day, people claim to have seen the ghost of Anne wandering the halls of the mansion looking for her child, I guess. Now, like I said, I have some questions here. If you thought your daughter just gave birth to Satan's child and you killed the said child, which of course is fucking stupid to begin with, but actually is something that has been repeated throughout history because people are stupid, then why the hell would you bury the body within the walls of your house? It's like you tell your servants, we must hide the body, quick, open a wall, and they're like, but madam, we can just throw it in a bog out here. We're in Ireland, nobody will find it. It's like, no, too obvious, in the walls. Like, are you sure? There's just trash pits. Literally, it's the 1600s. It's like, no, wall it in. Like, what the fuck is the thought process behind that?
Do they really liked Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah.
Just like,
look, damn it. He was Satan's child, but he was still my grandchild, and I want him close by.
So, hey, there's a lot of weird stories like that. So that's totally possible.
So, of course, the skeptics among us will write most, and by that I mean all, of this story off as legend. A tall tale that's grown in the nearly 3.5 centuries since it was said to have happened. Although that kind of blew my mind too when I started looking up the story, because I had heard this story as part of a TV show, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to cover that on the show. But then I actually looked it up to get a little bit more details. And I had only kind of half been paying attention to the TV show. So when I saw that it happened in the 1600s, we live in America, there's not a lot of our architecture and stuff that dates back that far.
And usually it's falling apart, and it's
we could have the exact same story, but it would be a mansion built in 1912.
Right.
Maybe the 1860s, not 1600s. So that part was a little, because again, this is a real place. You can go see the Loftus Manor.
You can play cards with the devil.
Yep. So it would be easy to just write this all off as just completely made up. But according to a single line on that television show that I was referencing during my exhaustive, and I put that in quotes because we've talked about how exhaustive our research is for this show, I was not able to find any corroboration.
Had one article get linked to on Wikipedia. We'll use it.
Right, like you hear about the two-source rule, where if you want to report something as true, at least try to find two sources that both corroborate it, and that's not a bad rule to live by, but not for this show. Jesus, it sounded like they just
she is
hit you with a blackjack.
My dogs are being a thing the last couple of days. She really wants to play with this squeaky toy, and I'm like, leave me alone.
So anyway, I do kind of try to look for two sources, but if I can't and it's good enough, I'll leave it in anyway.
Well, fuck it, I'm not. This isn't a goddamn. I'm not Al Jazeera here. I'm not trying to get to the truth.
Right.
I'm fucking. I'm trying to kill 30 minutes every week.
According to this television show, during a later renovation of the castle, a child's body was found behind the wall by the chimney in Anne's room. Like I said, absolutely nothing else I could find said that, but I'm still going to count it as absolute proof that this happened.
Yeah.
Also, while I was looking
on the bones, it said "property of the devil."
Right. Ha 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 ha. Nerdy laugh. But while trying to find out whether or not there was a child's body actually found in the house, I did come across a fact that it said in 1940s somebody broke into the family mausoleum, and during dealing with that vandalism, they came across Anne's coffin. So when I said she was probably buried, according to this, she was in the family mausoleum, but that her coffin was oddly shaped, and upon opening it, they discovered that was because her bones had fused together in a weird position. That one I did find a number of references to. They're all random blogs and Reddit posts, but again, in my case, that's good enough for me. It's true fact.
Yeah. These are truly stories, not true stories.
Right. I mean, frankly, we've talked about how I love ghost stories, but I do not believe in them at all. It would take a lot more than hey, this random blog says it happened for me to be like, okay, you've changed my mind.
I am genuinely getting the drive to actually make my ghost hunting TV show where I just go and I just basically hang out for a while and be like, yeah, nothing really happens. Yeah.
That's the shit part. That'd be the realistic show, but it wouldn't last because it would be frankly boring to watch.
No, I was actually thinking about it. It would actually just turn into probably this podcast, because we would just get distracted and be like, yeah, we kind of talked over a lot of it, but I guess something went bump down a hallway, but nothing was there, so.
If you play the recording backwards and slow it down, you can hear Steve and Ben talking about mowing lawns. Oh, wait, that's just normal audio, sorry.
Or it would go the other way, where I'm just constantly getting scared by every little thing, and then I still come out but there's no way to know for sure. So it's just
A lot of it would depend on the production values. I feel like if you had a whole TV team where you had like the cameraman and the audio man and a producer or field director, I don't know what the roles are called, but you usually have like at least 6-7 people in the field, even if it's like a single host show. Yeah. There's a lot of people behind the camera there. So then nothing would scare me because there's enough of us there where...
Fuck that. I want to be the survivor man of haunting shows.
It's just you and a camcorder. Like, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be all right.
That situation, there would be things that would happen that it would, like, I probably would never admit it on the show that I was freaked out, but it would be super fucking obvious. Like, where you just start talking abnormally, like, just a lot, and, like, that, like, nervous laughter where you make a stupid joke that's not even funny, and you're like, hey, constantly, like, looking over your shoulders, and you're like, I totally...
Like, I would constantly sell each episode with, like, there will be some point where I get so freaked out I have to pull a gun out and try to shoot at whatever's making the sound.
Well, you know what? I've come across a show on like Discovery or History or Nat Geo. All those channels are like, yeah, they're all under the same umbrella. Or at least they appear to be because they all have the same fucking shows. But one of those like basically Bigfoot hunter shows, I think it's called like American Monsters or something, because it's more than just Bigfoot, but it's amazing how many of these creatures are just Bigfoot with a different name. But the whole show is literally an hour of these like redneck yokels running around in the mountains with guns and night vision cameras. And it's like, there's only one possible way for this series to end, and it'll be tragic and hilarious. So they already do have a show where they arm themselves up and like run around. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen an episode where they physically fire upon anything. But it's just a matter of time, right?
I think there would just be something really funny about me having to open fire in like historical preserved locations because I'm just so scared because I decided to sit in a dark room till like fucking 5 a.m. and listen to shit make sounds.
You know, it'd be like the FedEx driver dropping off a package, and you'd be like, what the fuck was that? It sounded like a truck. Oh, I hear footsteps. I swear to God, guys, I hear footsteps. There's somebody at the door, and you just open fire. Is this a delivery
from hell?
You kill a guy, and you're like, now we're gonna check to see if he's got cloven hooves.
And now,
fuck, he does not.
I know this looks like some flagrant manslaughter, but the truth is, he works for me, and he's going to report back from the afterlife. He can talk to any of these ghosts.
Join me as I come in next week from an undisclosed location in Mexico. Good luck, FBI. But anyway, so the moral of the story is if you live in a creepy-ass house in Ireland and a sailor shows up and wants to like have sex with you, don't do it, or if you do, like, at least use some protection.
Yeah, know what the bottom half of a human man should be. There's your fucking hot tip. Or fuck it, maybe she's like, you know what, I don't care. Because he's that pretty.
That's true. Like, she knew all along. The problem was that, like, somebody else saw the feet, and she had to be like, what? The devil?
The devil. Anyway, yeah. I remember reading that story a long, long time ago when, like, we first started the show, and, like, I didn't see a way to really stretch it.
Yeah, I was even worried doing this shorter show that it wouldn't last long enough, but our like ability to be stupid and ramble really pays off a lot of times.
We've really gotten good at like padding this shit out.
At least in our opinions, the listeners are like, just shut the fuck up and get to the point, you idiots.
Well, it's not,
it's not that kind of show, damn it.
After 50, what are we at, 60 episodes? You know what we fucking do here. And we'll do it next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.